America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute. You can't put a price on creativity, but apparently you can put a tariff on it. Of course, this is unacceptable. All these attacks are unacceptable. And this isn't just an American problem, it's a global one. Unlike a film, we can't just all sit back and watch. We have to act, and we have to act now. Without violence, but with great passion and determination.
What do you get when you mix Robert De Niro's death glare with Jimmy Kimmel's razor-sharp punchlines? A Trump roast so brutal, it probably made his spray tan peel off. De Niro didn't just throw shade, he dropped a solar eclipse. And Kimmel? Let's just say Trump might need a few extra cheeseburgers to recover from that burn. Buckle up, because this tag team just turned Mar-a-Lago into a comedy club, with no safe spaces in sight.
So the White House press secretary pushed back. She said the president looked great and presidential alongside our stunning first lady, who was, as usual, dressed perfectly for the occasion. And she's right about Melania. I don't know about stunning, but she definitely looks stunned. Show them together, because this is the happiest I've ever seen these two together. It's like they're on their second honeymoon or something. And then the president either went deep in prayer or deep asleep. I don't know.
It's not every day a mob movie legend and a late-night talk show host become the unlikeliest tag team in political smackdowns. But somehow, Donald Trump managed to unite Robert De Niro and Jimmy Kimmel under one glorious banner: public annihilation. No, they didn't team up in a Marvel crossover. They just happened to despise the same person with the same white-hot intensity. And unlike most political roasts, this one didn't come with polite applause or a teleprompter. It came with years of simmering rage, New York sarcasm, and enough eye rolls to power a small city.
I owe this city a lot. And that's why it's so weird that Donald Trump is just across the street. Because he doesn't belong in my city. I don't know where he belongs, but he certainly doesn't belong here. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot. A two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, pretending to be a spokesperson for himself. He was calling it as himself for himself, to fool the press into inflating his net worth. A clown.
Robert De Niro, cinematic royalty, man of few words, and when he does speak, it's usually delivered with the precision of a mafia boss handing out death sentences. His vendetta with Trump is old school, long before the orange tornado rolled down that escalator and launched his reality TV spin-off known as the 2016 election. De Niro didn't just dislike Trump, he practically treated the man like a recurring rash on democracy's rear end.
Sonic, the illegal immigrant hedgehog, is a national security threat, and he must be stopped. And this wasn't just another late Sunday night whim for Trump. He said, I've done some very strong research over the last week, which means he had brunch with John Voight at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. Oh, that's not a joke. That's true. This is where he reportedly got the Tariff the Movies idea from Angelina Jolie's 86-year-old father she won't talk to. What a great idea. Next year, the White Lotus is going to be set at a Hampton Inn.
This wasn't your average celebrity voicing concern. No vague statements or generic calls for unity. De Niro, in true dramatic fashion, acted like he had seen the ghost of Mussolini in a spray tan. He wasn't ranting because it was trendy. He was warning like a grizzled veteran yelling at kids to get off the lawn before it explodes. And with every Trump scandal, De Niro's disdain aged like fine wine marinated in vinegar.
When Trump ran in 2016, it was like a joke. This buffoon running for president. No, never could happen. We'd forgotten the lessons of history that showed us other clowns who weren't taken seriously until they became vicious dictators. And now he's promising to use our own military to attack U.S. citizens. That's the tyrant he's telling us he'll be. This is the time to stop him by voting him out once and for all.
The man couldn't attend an award show without squeezing in a jab. And no, not the subtle kind. The crowd didn't know whether to clap or call security. You'd think he was preparing for a role as a retired CIA agent who discovered the villain's hideout was Mar-a-Lago. And while most of Hollywood tried to keep things balanced, De Niro decided balance was for yoga instructors. He took the gloves off, stomped on them, and then lit them on fire just to make sure no one could ever say he wasn't committed. He warned America with the intensity of a dad who found out his daughter was dating a guy who thinks climate change is a hoax. He went from Oscar speeches to campaign stages, waving red flags like he was auditioning for a role in a political horror film. And the most amazing part? He never flinched. While others danced around the subject or played nice, De Niro gave democracy the cinematic defense it didn't ask for but absolutely needed. But just when you thought the roast couldn't get hotter, enter Jimmy Kimmel, the man who took late-night comedy and turned it into a full-time Trump therapy session for the entire country. While De Niro delivered fury with thunderous silence and brooding menace, Kimmel attacked with glittery sarcasm and enough side-eye to make an optometrist nervous.
Donald Trump has been very generous sharing some of the wisdom that he has gained from his 78 years on Earth.
You know bullies? You know what a bully is, right? You know the bully, I've always, and I found it throughout my life, a bully is the weakest person.
Does he have any self-awareness at all? The character of Biff in Back to the Future is based on him, and that was 30 years before he became president. And I hope this isn't bullying, but what the hell's going on with the color of his face? He looks like the vest you wear to go deer hunting. Think he knows you're supposed to take the makeup off it, or I think they keep shellacking on more coats because it's like he saw his makeup person this morning and said, "Give me the circus peanut today."
Kimmel didn't just roast Trump, he flambéed him. Every night became a countdown to who would snap first, the orange ego or the Hollywood comic with a vengeance. Kimmel transformed his show into a comedy courtroom where Trump was always on trial and always hilariously guilty. It started slow, as all great slow burns do. A jab here, a dig there. But then, something shifted. Kimmel stopped pretending it was all just jokes and started turning his monologues into mini political dissertations. Except instead of footnotes, there were fart jokes and Trump impressions so devastating they needed a warning label. The guy used punchlines like scalpels, cutting through the madness one insult at a time. And while some hosts blinked, toned it down, or tried not to offend, Kimmel doubled down like a blackjack dealer in hell. If Trump said something bizarre, Kimmel dragged it into daylight and paraded it like a flamingo at a penguin convention. Whether Trump was hawking imaginary miracle cures, hugging flags like lost lovers, or confusing basic geography, Kimmel was there to turn every blooper into a blooper reel for democracy. But what made it lethal wasn't the humor. It was the clarity. Kimmel took all the gibberish, all the chaos, and translated it into plain English, usually followed by a sarcastic shrug and a well-timed eyebrow raise.
Such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor because I can't see any good in him. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there. Somebody, for some reason, it can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us could imagine.
And the best part? Trump didn't even have to respond, because every joke landed harder when the guy being roasted couldn't handle the heat without melting into an incoherent rant. Kimmel essentially became a one-man CNN, except with better lighting and fewer people yelling over each other. Back to De Niro. He didn't need nightly monologues. He made statements by simply existing in a constant state of irritated patriotism. His interviews felt like presidential briefings minus the lies. When he spoke, you didn't just listen, you braced for impact. And while his acting peers were off making TikToks or pushing skincare brands, De Niro was out there acting like a founding father with a Brooklyn accent. He wasn't trying to be funny. That's what made it funny. De Niro scolding Trump was like a disappointed grandfather watching his grandson turn the Constitution into a napkin. There was no punchline, just piercing disappointment wrapped in gravitas. You almost expected him to storm Congress, slap everyone with a rolled-up script, and declare martial law until people started acting like adults again. Meanwhile, Kimmel's brand of damage control was different. His mission wasn't just mocking Trump, it was therapy for the terminally sane. He understood something critical. America didn't just need facts, it needed laughter. Desperate, cackling, wine-spilling laughter. The kind of laughter that comes right after you read another Trump press release and wonder if it was ghostwritten by a confused raccoon.
Donald Trump was sadly not invited to the conclave. He's got other things to work on, including something that he promises will be very bigly indeed.
We're going to have a very, very big announcement to make, like as big as it gets, and I won't tell you on what, but it's going to, and it's very positive. I'd tell you if it was negative or positive. I can't keep that out. It is really, really positive. And that announcement will be made either Thursday or Friday or Monday before we leave. But it'll be one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years about a certain subject, very important subject.
What could this be? Do you think he's announcing his weight, his actual weight? Maybe Melania's pregnant again. Wouldn't that be sweet to have a baby, another baby in the White House? I guess we'll find out Thursday or Friday or Monday. Or more likely, probably never. Why is the president teasing us like he's Ryan Seacrest about to go to a commercial break?
And he delivered night after night. He became the national court jester with a degree in existential dread. Whether he was breaking down the absurdity of Trump's latest conspiracy theory or just marveling at how many crimes one person could allegedly juggle while still managing to golf, Kimmel offered clarity through comedy. The brilliance of this 1-2 punch, De Niro's growling warnings and Kimmel's comedic dissection, was that they never coordinated, never collaborated, never needed to. Like two weather systems forming a hurricane, they brought different strengths but shared the same target. And that target had a suspicious tan and a Twitter addiction that aged like milk. Together, they didn't just criticize, they turned Trump into a cultural punchline. The loud guy at the party who thinks he's the main event but somehow keeps spilling shrimp cocktails down his shirt. He became less of a leader and more of a late-night running gag with an ego so big it needed its own zip code. De Niro gave Trump cinematic villain energy. Kimmel gave him sitcom side character energy, and in both portrayals, Trump came out looking like a blooper reel stapled to a lawsuit. The genius wasn't just in their words, it was in their timing. De Niro struck during moments of national anxiety, reminding everyone that fascism doesn't always wear jackboots, it sometimes wears golf shoes and insists it won the election by a lot.
I mean, he's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk, he's a dog, he's a pig, he's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kimmel kept the pressure constant, like a leaky faucet of truth dripping onto a stack of Trump-branded steak boxes. Even without speaking directly to each other, the narrative was seamless. De Niro warned. Kimmel explained. De Niro condemned. Kimmel cracked up. The effect was devastating. One was the thunder, the other, the lightning. And together, they created a storm. Trump couldn't out-tweet, out-lie, or outlast. There were no debates, no conversations, no staged sit-downs, just two men using their separate platforms to roast, ridicule, and rhetorically vaporize a former president who seemed more cartoonish with each passing day. And while Trump's circle scrambled to defend him with the usual medley of distractions, both De Niro and Kimmel remained untouchable. What were they going to do? Cancel Robert De Niro? The man's been angry since the Carter administration. Cancel Kimmel? That would only give him more airtime to joke about the attempt. And here's where it gets really beautiful. Robert De Niro and Jimmy Kimmel are like two totally different types of storm systems. but they're both headed straight for Trump's ego. De Niro, he's the thunderstorm. Loud, visceral, dramatic enough to black out the power grid.
You're supposed to take the makeup off it, or I think they keep shellacking on more coats, because it's like he saw his makeup person this morning and said, "Give me the circus peanut today." Blob the Builder is still going all in on his ridiculous and potentially disastrous plan to force nearly 2 million Palestinians who live in Gaza to go live somewhere else. There seems to have been no thought put into this plan outside of just what he says at the press conference, where Trump was asked something to the effect of, what if the Palestinians don't want to leave?
You don't watch De Niro speak, you brace for impact. The man delivers anti-Trump rants like he's auditioning for a role as the last angry man in America. There's no punchline, no warm-up act, just fire, fury, and eyebrows that say, "I once played Vito Corleone, and I will end you." Now slide over to Jimmy Kimmel's side of the stage, and the tone changes completely. Kimmel's got that surgical snark. His jokes land like darts with tiny poison tips. He doesn't scream. He smirks. He doesn't shout into the abyss. He turns it into a 10-minute comedy monologue and makes America laugh while it cries inside. Every time Trump calls him washed up or low-rated, Kimmel just thanks him for the promo and reloads with another night of televised roasting. One man brings the hammer, the other brings the scalpel, and somehow they both keep hitting the same orange nerve. But here's the kicker. They're not just hurling insults for fun. They both treat Trump not as a quirky political opponent, but as an ongoing national emergency wrapped in bronzer. For De Niro, Trump's mere existence feels like a personal offense to democracy, and acting probably. For Kimmel, Trump is less of a threat and more of a bottomless content machine for a country that badly needs a laugh before the collapse.
This might have been the first time he wrote about you. Robert De Niro, a very low IQ individual, has received he spelled two wrong, many shots to the head by real boxers in movies. I watched him last night, truly believe he may be punch drunk, and then he says, at the end, he says, "Wake up, Punchy," he says to you. And that's not the only time, and he moved over to Truth Social. Robert De Niro, whose acting talents have greatly diminished with his reputation now shot, must even use a teleprompter for his foul and disgusting language. So disrespectful to our country. Now, in all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump? Or are you able to just kind of riff on your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's so stupid.
And why does any of this matter? Because in a country where people trust celebrity chefs more than senators, cultural voices have become the last functioning bullhorns of truth. When political leaders start moonlighting as cult leaders, it's often comedians and actors who end up doing the emotional labor of calling BS. Kimmel and De Niro stepped in, not because it's their job, but because everyone else with an actual job wasn't doing it. De Niro didn't want to be the Gandalf of the resistance. Kimmel didn't ask to be late night's chief of moral clarity. But when the lifeguard abandons the pool and a man starts yelling about injecting bleach, somebody's got to blow the damn whistle. Trump's reaction? Classic. Sometimes deafening, sometimes suspiciously mute. He'll tweet 70 times in one morning about Joe Biden's socks, but barely breathe De Niro's name anymore. Maybe because he remembers what happened the last time he did and doesn't want to get curb stomped by a Hollywood legend who's already filmed 25 ways to kill a mob boss. Kimmel, on the other hand, stays on Trump's radar like a fly that refuses to leave his Big Mac. Every joke earns another all-caps meltdown. And that's the real punchline. Trump can't help but feed the fire.
Melania's pregnant again. Wouldn't that be sweet to have a baby, another baby in the White House? I guess we'll find out Thursday or Friday or Monday. Or more likely, probably never. Why is the president teasing us like he's Ryan Seacrest about to go to a commercial break?
It's going to be a truly earth-shattering and positive development for this country and for the people of this country. And that'll take place sometime within the next few days.
This had better not be another set of his Trump NFTs or a golf tournament that he won. This feels like a dad who's a gambling addict telling his family, "I have big news, we're moving into an RV."
And Kimmel? He's just roasting marshmallows. In the end, Trump didn't just get destroyed, he got theatrically dismantled by a man who made his career staring down mobsters and another who made his living laughing at clowns. It was poetic. It was brutal. It was long overdue. De Niro may never crack a smile doing it. Kimmel may never stop laughing. But one thing's clear. When history writes the chapter on how culture responded to chaos, these two names will be etched in the margins, laughing, growling, and probably sipping something strong. And if Trump ever wonders why his legacy feels like a punchline, he might want to check the highlight reels, because Robert De Niro and Jimmy Kimmel didn't just destroy him. They gave America a reason to laugh, listen, and maybe, just maybe, wake up.